Hello and welcome to this second lesson of this section dedicated to the system of permissions, in which we will address this second point, namely the levels of authorization. By examining the default permissions of the SharePoint site and how they can be modified, the sharing settings of the site as the entire site or items. Specifics can be shared, such as files and management of access for guest users, meaning users who are guests external to the organization, whether they have an Office 365 or personal account, the settings of advanced permissions, which we learned how to access in the previous lesson, and then how to add members and change their permissions. So let's first look at the slides, the default settings, and the modifications. So the owners, by default, have full control of the site, while the members have the power to edit. Obviously, this editing power that you see here can always be changed to become read-only or by promoting it to owner status. This means that a member can be promoted to owner status and will then have control of the entire site. It is clear that the person who appoints it as owner always has the power to downgrade it later. A regular member with editing rights, or even a member who has only limited rights of reading. So who is the owner of the site? The one who created it or the one designated by the creator? A member becomes the owner. Members are those who are invited by the owner and can therefore make changes. And it's important to pay attention to the privacy settings of the site, because if the privacy is set to public, all members of Office 365 accounts can modify the site, whereas if, during the creation of the site or later, the privacy is set to private. So in this case, only guests will be members and will therefore be able to modify by default or what they are permitted to do, not by the site owner. There are also visitors not part of the Office 365 account who can only see the content of the team site. Next, we have the site sharing settings. There are three types of sharing: the entire site, files, or complete folders, thus containing N files that we can configure various types of sharing. So first, the site owners can share files and folders. And on the site, users with modification permissions can share files and folders. So, member owners can share everything: files, folders, and sites. The second option is for site member owners and users with permissions. For making modifications, they can share files and folders, but only site owners are allowed to share it. So, members and users do not have permission. Third option, only site owners can share files, folders, and the site. So all objects can only be shared by the site owners, not even by members. Here, we will see how to enable and authorize access requests, or we can disable them. If they are enabled, we can choose who receives them, only the owners, where it is possible to specify an email address of a member of the Office 365 account capable of receiving these requests. Next, we have access management for guest users, in other words, guest users. Then we will see how they are invited. But for guest users, there could also be a deadline for access. I want to show content to someone outside the organization, perhaps a training course that I want to sell to him later, and I will show him the lessons over a period of 10 days. A training course of any kind, so I can set an access deadline, which I could also extend afterward. The settings for advanced permissions. We learned how to access the advanced permissions environment in the previous lesson. Next, we will discuss adding members and changing permissions. Therefore, we will be able to do this from various environments. We will find that there are two options for this. So let's examine the modification permissions by following a structure on the SharePoint site and the default permissions along with their modifications. So let's go to the SharePoint site to carry out any operations on the permissions. We need to click on the little wheel as soon as it appears and go here to the Site Permissions. Here, we can immediately see what it says about the permissions of different users. So the site owners have full control. Site members have limited control. If I open it, I see that they have the rights to modify the site. Total control. Visitors have no power. So here I could also modify these settings. I need to check who the members of this site are to modify the settings. How can I find out who the members are? I can go here to add new members. And here it shows me the list of members. I will add members. It provides me with the list of members, as you can see. I'm making the slides, and then I added these members. I also added this guest. I could go here and make this member, Christina Bianchi, the owner. Or, once I've made him the owner, I could come back here and change his status back to member, obviously. In this case, I do not have the authority I currently manage on this site to restrict this person. With read-only permissions, because previously, as we will see in the advanced permission system, I have granted certain powers to the SharePoint group that includes this person. So as a SharePoint administrator, I cannot change this setting provided by the upstream administrator. Then we will look at the site sharing settings in order. So let's return to the SharePoint site and navigate to the site permissions, and we will change the sharing mode. And here we see what we have previously seen in the slides. So the site owners and members can share everything: files, folders, and sites. So the owners and members can share files and folders, but only the owners can share the site. Alternatively, only the owners can do everything. Therefore, only the site owner or a member elevated by the owner can perform file, folder, and site sharing operations. And here, the management of access requests, as we previously saw, is always organized. Let's look at how guest users are managed. Therefore, in this case, we will always need to grant site permissions. Here we have the guest's expiration date, and here it is stated that the organization does not require guest access to be disabled. The organization requires guests to lose access to the site after 1 day. That is to say, in this Office 365 account, no expiration date has been set for guests. It could be set. And if that were the case, I could go here to type the person's name and see when their access to the site expires. Also, he will revoke it before extending it a bit longer. Let's examine another point, the advanced permissions setting. We will skip this as we've already covered it in the previous lesson. It was simply about seeing how to access it. Then we have the addition of members and the transfer of authority, which we've already seen before. But let's quickly review it. Site authorization related to access. I can change the person's permissions. We want to have the chance to do it. I can also click here on the SharePoint site. So without having to open the site permissions menu, I can click here on the members to see how many are part of this SharePoint site. I open it and can perform the same operations as I could on the other side. So for example, Roberto Rossi, as a member, I can make him the owner of the site. And now, for example, he will have the power to perform all sharing operations for the entire site, including files and folders. I'll see you in the next lesson.